Hello, welcome to HITC Sport, and who are you? Honestly, as a person, who are you? What are you like? Are you the type of person to lick peanut butter off the underside of bus seats? Do you sneak into Adam Sandler movies hoping nobody will see you? Are you the type of deranged, degenerate, subhuman dirt who pays actual money for an Ollie Murs album? What I'm gonna do is take a look at every Premier League club and find the one player who's actually maybe completely changed my entire perspective on them this season. As a person, which player has changed my opinion on them as a person? Whether that's good or bad. Yes, Kurt, I'm looking at you. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Aaron Ramsdale. Okay, I'll admit it, before this season, I thought that Aaron Ramsdale was a wet egg sandwich of not only a footballer, but a person too. To me, this was just some former Wimbledon goalkeeper with the hand reflexes of Kermit the Frog and someone with the conscience of a kitten strangler. Because to me, he was just some miserable goalie who just kept ditching his clubs upon relegation, jumping ship about Bournemouth and Sheffield United. To me, he was just some disloyal puppet of a man who honestly, after 2 relegations, I would imagine if you'd invited him out for a pint last summer, he looked like the type who'd probably spend about half an hour crying into a tub of ice cream he'd brought to the pub from home. Honestly, I thought he had the personality and joie de vivre of that depressed donkey of Winnie the Pooh. Instead, it turns out that this guy, he's an entertainer. This fella smiles more on a football pitch than goddamn Ronaldinho. And clearly he's cut from the same cloth as Jamie Vardy when winding up the opposition fans. It's just he couldn't really do all that when he was stuck bottom of the league. Otherwise, he'd have looked like some sort of sociopath. But lads, not only is he actually a top-class goalkeeper, but he's just an infectious Ben Foster clone. Honestly, he just gets on stage at work and just grins from ear to ear for 90 minutes. He's like Stoke-on-Trent's answer to Michael Bublé. Fair play, Aaron, okay? I take it back then. You're not actually some miserable dishwipe of a man, better suited to stacking books about cooking dog food down the local library. You've got some personality. Aston Villa, Emiliano Martinez. Again, bit similar to Ramsdale this. I knew Emiliano Martinez was a good goalkeeper last season, but I'm sorry, I didn't expect this. I assumed this man was just some shy little goalie who just happily accepted 10 years being ignored at Arsenal and just accepted his medicine like a good little boy, being loaned out to Oxford, Rotherham and Reading. To put it simply, I thought he had the backbone of a crippled snail. You know, football's answer to Milhouse Van Houten. But when Manchester United were given a last-minute penalty to equalise against Aston Villa in September, then Martinez suddenly gets in Bruno Fernandes's head, literally pointing at Ronaldo and screaming,
"Oh, why isn't he taking it? He's so much better than you."
Again, here's me thinking that Martinez was just some shy little man, after being treated like a diseased leper by Arsenal for years, and yet here he was trolling Ronaldo, playing him off against Bruno. And then, once Fernandes misses the spot kick, he literally dances with his pelvis in front of the Stretford end, as if he was the male Miley Cyrus. What a lad! Brentford Ivan Toney. Yeah, step forward Ivan Toney. Listen, go back 6 months. And to me, Ivan Toney, yeah, he was clearly someone who styles himself on a poster of KSI. But to me, he was also just clearly a hard-working footballer who was just slightly bordering on delusional. Just like when Tammy Abraham, while fluffing his lines at Swansea, was targeting winning the Ballon d'Or. Similarly, Toney began the season by telling the world that he wanted Brentford to win the Premier League. And he was me thinking MC Grinder was the only delusional one in Brentford. But listen, there's nothing wrong with setting unrealistic targets, right? Because Tammy, no, he's not going to win the Ballon d'Or, but he has managed to wind up at a European giant like Roma, playing under arguably the greatest human being to ever breathe air. So, nothing wrong with it, really. What I do have a problem with Tony Ford is jetting out to Dubai midway through the season, and then, whilst dancing with some woman to Kesha or Black Eyed Peas, he then proceeds to look down the camera and swear at Brentford. You know, the club would pay his wages. Yeah, so before, I thought he was just some hard-working, delusional optimist. You know, a bit like Will Smith in the early 90s. Turns out, actually, no, he's actually got sawdust between the ears. Brighton, Neil Maupay. Last season, I thought Neil Maupay was arrogant. Do we remember, during lockdown, the guy had an on-pitch fight with Matteo Guendouzi, forcing Arsenal fans to mostly puncture a hole in their brain.
Maupay, you are a cheat. You are a cheat. And like I said again, Maupay, you're a cheat. Come to our dressing room and say what you said about our players. Come to our dressing room if you're brave enough.
Yeah, that was weird. But it was more in November 2021 when hipster overlord Graham Potter drops him from the squad for getting carried away with his own success. Considering the way Potter wasted no time in drowning Matt Ryan's career in a human-sized teabag, I assumed Potter would show Maupay the same fate as Lord Voldemort. To me, clearly this was a French striker with the attitude of Nicolas Anelka, but the actual ability of Connor Wickham. Not a great combination. I assume Maupay probably walked through the streets of Brighton wearing a cashmere coat, forcing homeless people to kiss his ring before chucking hot coffee in the face of old ladies at the bus stop. Come on, 2 years ago, this guy was literally pulling off a Panenka penalty past David De Gea before doing the Mbappe crying celebration. I can't be the only one who thought this guy was the French Joey Essex, with a venom-like ego that can barely fit on the bus. But instead, this season, I've been impressed. I don't know what's happened to him. Maybe he walked in on his wife in bed with a middle-aged gardener. Maybe he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror and actually realized that no, he doesn't actually look like Leonardo DiCaprio off Titanic. Or maybe he's just finally embarrassed by his 1-in-4 goal-scoring record. Whatever it is, his ego this season is gone. I mean, here are some quotes from the man himself this season.
Last week after the Leeds United game, I was the worst striker in the world.
Yeah, and he said it again 2 days ago that he was the worst player on the pitch against Leicester last week. I mean, you wouldn't hear Thierry Henry talk about himself like that, so fair play. Finally, some humility from Neil. I think I might have got you all wrong. Burnley Wout Weghorst. To me, Wout Weghorst was supposed to be the next Kevin Kurani or Klaus-Jan Huntelaar. Someone who wants to make ambitious moves in his career, and then he signed up for relegation with Burnley, choosing to replace Chris Wood. My mistake, you've actually got the ambition of a teapot. Chelsea, Kepa Arrizabalaga. Before this season, to me, Kepa Arrizabalaga was your typical virus of a football personality, and having some troublesome Dennis the Menace-esque disaster waiting on the bench. Oh, trust me. To me, this guy was an overpriced custard sandwich of a goalie who, refused to be substituted by his manager in a cup final. To me, in that instant, I lost all respect for the man. To me, he was an overpaid, selfish brat, only thinking about himself. But no, this season, lads, he was crying tears of happiness after Chelsea won the Club World Cup, and considering he'd be mercilessly binned after the semi-final and spent the game against Palmeiras on the bench, this fellow would be well within his rights to look like someone who'd just seen his granny vomit blood on his pillow. But lads, there isn't even a hint that the world's most expensive goalkeeper is sulking at being second choice. No, he's always ready to fill in when called upon, and he's already been a penalty cup hero 3 times this season, and unlike Dean Henderson, who spends every match chewing the inside of his mouth and resenting the existence of David De Gea, unlike Henderson, Kepa genuinely looks happy for his teammates. To me, this guy deserves to be number 1 somewhere. Why not a summer switch to an ambitious Newcastle United? Crystal Palace, Conor Gallagher. Pretty simple here. Did anyone hear Conor Gallagher's interview after that Everton win? Whereas last season, I thought this guy was just some nothing special, bang average CM wasting away on loan at West Brom. But lads, what at Palace? He's an energetic, goal-scoring, box-to-box midfielder who, if you listen to his interview, he sounds like a different breed of footballer who actually has a voice in their mouth. He's not just a media-trained robot with the personality of Ed Sheeran. He's actually got something to say. This fella, he's like Palace's very own version of James Maddison. Everton, Donny van de Beek. I wish I could put in Dele Alli. I wish this was a redemption arc for the guy, where he can go from someone who clearly spends about 7 hours a day rifling through brochures for Gucci sweaters to a world-class consummate professional, but no, not yet. Instead, he's just Milton Keynes' answer to Justin Bieber. But Donny van de Beek, whatever about him as a footballer, I already know this guy is the model pro. I'm sorry, but this was his 2nd season at Manchester United, and from the first 10 league games, he played 6 minutes. I'm sorry, this fellow was once a Ballon d'Or nominee at Ajax, who nearly signed for Real Madrid. I mean, he just made the opposite career choice to Toni Kroos, and yet being left out of the team for McFred, and he can't even get in the side after 5-0 crushing at home to Liverpool. I wouldn't have blamed the guy for storming into Ollie's office and throwing a bag of his grandmother's poo at his desk. To add insult to injury, Manchester United have given him 1-minute cameos 5 times this season. I mean, what is he supposed to do in 1 minute? I mean, let's be clear, in reality, he only had to shower after 1 Premier League match this season, when he scored in a 45-minute outing against Watford. And yet, he went on Rio Ferdinand's YouTube channel, and he didn't moan once. And his agent didn't undermine Solskjaer and Rannick in the media. Nothing. He just kept his head down and got himself a low-key move to Everton. Donny, what a legend. Leeds, Rafinha. To me, Rafinha looks like the second coming of Riyad Mahrez. An utterly skillful baller on that right wing for an overachieving mid-table side, destined to get a move to a European giant. But Mahrez, this fella spent every 3 weeks moaning about getting a transfer away from Leicester in the summer. I mean, even when Leicester were top of the league, he was still talking up a move to Arsenal in the media. And I thought Rafinha would do the same in January, but no. He hasn't publicly begged to leave for Bayern Munich. I mean, he's even dragged off at halftime against Everton. And I'm sorry, for someone who scored just 3 weeks ago for Brazil, for someone who's probably getting invited to Neymar's poker parties in the summer, lads, Rafinha is someone who attended Ronaldinho's birthday party when he was just 7 years old. Sounds a bit dodgy, that. A bit like Brazil's answer to the Neverland Ranch. But no, it's true. He has known Ronaldinho since 2003. So I would assume, because of that, Rafinha has the ego of Elton John. And that maybe, now that he's halfway to 50, he would resent being substituted for a team halfway down the Premier League. I mean, honestly, when he goes with an international duty with Brazil and sharing a dressing room with worldwide superstars, he's probably embarrassed to tell airport security when looking at his passport that he actually plays for Leeds. But no, he hasn't tried unstable anything, just nothing. Kept his head down. Fair play. Leicester, nobody. Yeah, to be fair, nobody at Leicester has really made me change my mind on them this season, so... Next! Liverpool, Harvey Elliott. This was my only reference of Harvey Elliott before this season.
Harvey Elliott banned from all football after admitting mocking Harry Kane in video.
A budding young English footballer slagging off the England captain on Snapchat. I mean, come on, Harvey, do you have the brains of a couch? I mean, come on, look at this photo. This haircut clearly made him look like someone who's attracted to his cousin. Ozzy, this looks like if you just scraped up all the hair on a barbershop floor at the end of a working day and just sellotaped it to his skull. He also looks like someone who's just going to spend the next 4 years being dragged out of nightclubs and chatting up half the schoolgirls at Merseyside. To me, this guy was Liverpool's very own version of Ravel Morrison. I was just waiting here for some scandal that was going to break. Like, I don't know, he's just been arrested for chewing the toes off his cousin's foot or pushing his auntie down the stairs. But this season, no, I'm sorry, Harvey. I no longer think that you're just some brainless child about to chuck away his money on booze and cars. Instead, Harvey's actually pretty mature. When Pascal Struijk broke his ankle in September, the 18-year-old immediately told the world from hospital that no, it wasn't his fault and to not blame the Leeds defender. And then he gives his football kit to some child in the hospital and he's put in the hours in rehab to return inside 6 months. He smashed in a goal against Cardiff on his return. No, he's not just some bird brain Love Island wannabe. Harvey Elliott, he's the real deal. Man City Scott Carson. Before this season, again, I thought that Scott Carson was just a moody, boring old man. Turns out, according to Ben Foster, he's the heart and soul of the Man City dressing room. I mean, a bit like in the case of Rob Green, sometimes it takes a bog standard average British goalie, someone about as exciting as Weeda Bix, to become third choice goalie at an elite club for everyone to realise what a great character they actually are. He looks like he's got the charisma of a foot, but apparently the entire City dressing room love him, and according to Foster, he's got a bromance between him and Ederson. I mean, which just seems so unlikely. I'd assume a world superstar like Ederson would look down at a former Derby County and Wigan #1 as if the man's got chicken pox on his knob. But no, lads, last month Ruben Diaz was asked to pick his dream five-a-side and he put Carson in goal. For some reason, I don't know why, but he's the most popular player at Man City. Mental. Man United, oh, hello. What Man United player have I changed my opinion on as a person? It's a tough one, really. I'm not sure. Maybe Bruno Fernandes. That was, he's been a bit whiny this season. Possibly him. I'm not sure. Ronaldo, he hasn't really been firing in the second half of the season. Cavani's impressed me. He's been an absolute warrior and not the PSG prima donna I thought he might be. Who else is there? Harry Maguire, again. I always really thought he was a bit of a post box. He hasn't really done anything to offend me on a personal level. Just trying to think. Who else could be? Rashford? No, again, he's still a good lad. It's feeding the hungry kids. It's a tough one, really. Who do you think? What Man United player do you think have you changed your opinion on in terms of personality? I'm just trying to think. I'm not sure. Newcastle, Ryan Fraser. I'll admit it, I never really forgave Ryan Fraser as a man. For somebody who Bournemouth plucked off Aberdeen's bench in 2013, to then just quit 10 games early, sitting out a post-lockdown relegation fight because he didn't want an injury to scupper him leaving on a free, I thought that was atrocious behaviour. He sat out 10 games. I'm surprised Eddie Howe hasn't at least tried to run him over in the car park. Again, I thought this man was done. The transfer speculation had just fried his brain and ended his hunger for the sport aged 27. But instead, the last few months under old boss Howe, Fraser's been brilliant. A tireless worker on the right wing. He's finally scrapping in a relegation fight instead of dreaming about stupid links to Arsenal. I mean, let's be honest, Fraser, if you had wound up at the Emirates, it would have taken about 20 minutes for the fans to write you off as a headless chicken, and honestly, if you were on the pitch to lose the North London derby, they'd probably choose to chuck used nappies at you in the car park. Norwich Grant Hanley. I thought Grant Hanley was a wet butterbean of a centre half, but this season, especially under Dean Smith, the Scottish defender has actually shown great leadership qualities. He's seen off competition from Ozan Kabak. He's actually really impressed. Southampton, Alex McCarthy. So it turns out that Alex McCarthy is not a good professional. That's not my words, that's Ralph Hasenhutl's. Clearly furious with the goalie for failing to admit during a match against Brighton that he was injured. Tottenham Harry Kane. What more do you want me to say? Before this season, I thought Harry Kane was a man who would bleed white for Tottenham. Turns out he's also a man who'll gladly sit out a crucial game against Man City in order to secure a move away. Turns out he's actually just a modern day Berbatov. Not a great look, Harry. Watford Ben Foster. Okay, I'll admit, I met Ben Foster this season at #United's 24-hour charity match in November, and he was happy to film a quick scene for me for the Ben Foster's football origins. I mean, I didn't tell him that it was essentially an entire video verbally desecrating his entire YouTube channel, but I seemed like a nice guy. West Ham Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma kicks cats. I'm sorry, but before this season, he just seemed like a popular member of Chelsea's dressing room. Just a really smiley, happy-go-lucky guy. Instead, he's actually someone who treats his cat like a hacky sack. Honestly, if you had told me before this season that Zouma would be crucified on Twitter by everybody, then I'd say no. I wouldn't believe you, but yeah, turns out he's actually about as likable as Cruella de Vil. You know that sexually repressed bint who used to wear a coat out of dogs? Wolves Raul Jimenez. Listen, I want to like Raul Jimenez, alright? The whole world does, because last season, this guy was the Premier League sympathy note. He had the goodwill of everyone as he battled back from that Humpty Dumpty injury, trying to get his career back on track. He was very close to being the next Ryan Mason. But, I'm sorry, against Man City away, the guy picks up 2 brainless yellow cards in the space of 60 seconds, one of them for trying to stop a free kick. And then once he gets sent off, having let down his entire teammates in the hardest game of the season, he slowly trudges off, shaking his head and clapping the away fans, as if he's some sort of warrior martyr. No, Raul, you cost your club 2 points. Honestly, maybe you're not as clever as I once thought. Anyway, that's what it is. What do you think? Alright, let me know. Who has changed your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. Enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll talk shit in a while.